What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Big Thing Sith Council. It's our Star Wars show here. Lots of news going on this week. A lot of Lindelof stuff. Tons of Lindelof stuff. He says he was let go. He didn't take off on his own. And then the rumors started to swirl. Why was he let go? Was he let go because his story took place 60 years into the future and his prototype that he was kind of casting around was Helen Mirren as an older Rey? There's also rumors that we talked about with Mike Kalinowski, something that he had heard, and that's that inside of this whole debacle with the story of where it was going to go and why they hired him, then they brought in Obed Chinoy, director of Ms. Marvel, and apparently Lindelof, rumor is that Lindelof and she did not get along, so that had to do with him taking off. Who knows? What we do know is there's yet another drama story when it comes to a creator or someone else that was hired onto Star Wars and then let go. So we'll talk about that, what we think is real, what we think is not real, that and more. Speaking of more projects we thought maybe wouldn't happen, it seems that the Taika Watiti movie is going to happen, and Kathleen Kennedy says as much. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. Andor, Season 2. There's a big writer strike going on right now that you're probably aware of, and Andor was able to, Tony Gilroy said they were able to finish doing everything, shooting and all that, so it looks like they're still on course. But what does it mean overall for Star Wars, this writer strike, the delays and whatnot? So we'll dive into that, and we're going to get into a lot of your questions today. There's a bunch of questions you guys submitted, and we did a live show on Friday with live Sith Council with myself, Mike, and Steph, and everybody all together. But we did portions of each. Whether you watch Capes and Cowls, this show, Big Thing Proper, we did segments of it. So I'm not the full event with all the stand-up comedy and all that is available at thekristianharloff.com. You can still check that out. But I said, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the Sith Council portion of that show on this show today, because we covered a lot of things that is relevant to what I just talked about, the Lindelof stuff, some of the Mandalorian things, this rumor about Luke Skywalker being kind of mandated that no more Luke Skywalker, whether you believe that or not. We talked about that on stage and more, and it's about 15 minutes, so I'm going to play, even though Mike and Steph are not in studio with me now, I'm going to play that 15 minutes that we did from Flapper, so you guys have that. And that'll be the show today. So speaking of live events, get to New York City, baby. Come on. People always say, when are you coming to New York? When are you coming to New York? We're going to be there. June 23rd. When are you coming to Connecticut? When are you coming to Connecticut? Next night, June 24th. So you guys can be there. Get the tickets now, East Coast. And get them both. They're not too far away from each other. Just come see us. Double Toasted, Mark Ellis, me, Winston, Coy, Kate. I got some other special guests working on that show as well, potentially. So we'll talk about that and more. But, all right, everybody, thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. It's Sith Council. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's do it.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, one and all, to Sith Council. Big thing. It's me, Kristian Harloff. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. There's a lot to talk about. Yeah, Mandalorian Season 3 is over. We're waiting for Skeleton Crew to come about, and it will soon. Well, not Skeleton Crew. Ahsoka. What am I saying? What am I saying? Ahsoka's right around the corner. Ahsoka's in August. Skeleton Crew is the end of the year. We don't even know yet the premiere for that. So Ahsoka, we got Ahsoka and then Skeleton Crew. So that's right around the corner. But I think leading up to it, we got some other things to talk about. The other thing that I didn't even mention up top was Visions, Jedi Survivor. There's a Young Jedi series also that is definitely for, I think I'm going to show it to my 5.5-year-old. She was watching these Disney Junior Spider-Man stuff that she really loved it. So this seems right up her alley. So I haven't got a chance to check that out yet, but I will. I did start playing both Jedi Survivor and I have started Visions. I'm about 4 episodes into Visions. Visions is fantastic. Visions is really, really good because I think one of the main reasons it's so good is it's not handcuffed. It's not handcuffed. Now, all the animated styles are not necessarily for me. Like there's like kind of this one Wallace and Gromit type episode that I think there's going to be a lot of people who love that style that works. That didn't necessarily. This wasn't my. It's called I Am Your Mother. I think it's the only one that was like I found myself kind of drifting off from. But that's not that it was a bad story. It just didn't grab my attention. But the other stuff, holy mackerel! The first one that starts off, the Sith one, and there's another one where they kind of go into this cave, and then there's one in full Japanese, like there's no English in it at all, and it just is so powerful. That was the last one. So far, Visions 2, I'm liking even better than this first season. I really like the first season, and I wasn't looking forward to the first season because I was like, anime, it doesn't connect to anything canon-wise. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I loved it. And I loved the fact that it's not handcuffed because it goes into this, and it still has familiar stuff, and I kind of hope that they take some of these stories and turn them canon. But I also want to know, like, I would love to know how much direction they're getting from, the people, the higher ups. Well, I guess these are the higher ups that are in charge of this particular program. But with whether it's Kathleen Kennedy and any Disney say, because they get dark in this series, and I wonder if because it's not canon, they don't have a lot of notes going, oh, well, you guys should do this, you should do this, instead do this. And it's a kind of a spin. It's almost like it's legends for them. And I think that's why they can do all these things and explore, because I really like the storytelling. The music is fantastic. There's a story with these two sisters that have been on this planet that has been overtaken by the Empire. They're both force sensitive, and they have to together the older sister doesn't want to get involved in the battle because their mother did, and it didn't go well. The younger sister is like, let's do it. We can take them out. And it's just this whole like sibling bonding and love, loss. It's like there's so much going on in Visions right now. And I'm only 4 or 5 episodes into this thing so far. Really, really enjoying Visions. And I think it comes out for everybody tomorrow. It comes out tomorrow. So I was able to get an early. I got sent the links like about a week ago, and I was trying to dive into it, but I just didn't. We had a busy week last week, obviously with the Katie Sackhoff interview, and thank you for everybody who watched that and commented and all that stuff. But we've just been busy. So I finally got a chance last night to just dive into it, and I watched a whole bunch of them. They're only like 15 minutes long, and they're solid, very solid filmmaking, or just storytelling rather. And I hope that the team behind it gets an opportunity to do something with the canon stuff also. I really do. Whether it's animated or a live action or whatever it might be, I hope that they get to tell some stories as well, because I think that they're telling great stories. And Jedi Survivor is telling a great story too, man. Started playing that yesterday, and thank God they fixed they created the Harloff idiot mode for that game. Like a couple times in the beginning, I almost texted Frank Janish. I'm going, okay, what do I climb here? Because I'm looking around the same spots, and then there's like maps and there's things that tell you which way to kind of go, and it's like, oh, okay, and you can't just fall off. I mean, you can fall off things, but at least so far, it's like, hey, dum, go that way, or just browse around a little bit. You'll find where you're supposed to go, and I have so far, and the story's great. The story's really, really good, and just the opening alone, and it felt like familiar Star Wars so far. And I mean, I'm 10 minutes into the game, maybe 20, but really enjoying it so far, and like where they're going with this. And there's tons of questions that you guys asked today about Jedi Survivor and Cal Kestis and all that. So we'll dive into that. But before we do, I want to once again reiterate that we had a great show at Flappers Comedy Club this past Friday. And it was about 150 people there. It was packed out. We had met a lot of you guys. It was fun. We did some stand-up comedy. And then at the end of it, what happened was we did like the podcast form. Like, no, I shouldn't say the end, the second portion of the show. And so we started with Sith Council, and we did about 15, 20 minutes. And it was myself, Mike, and Steph. And we talked about all this stuff, man. We talked about Lindelof. We talked about Mandalorian. We talked about all of it. So what I want to do now is Now, this stuff's not going to always be available to everybody. It's exclusive to the website members, and you can when we do them live, you can go on the site and just get them a la carte. And the whole event is still available a la carte. It will be. It lives indefinitely. You have to get the replay though. Some people have been trying to get the live show up there. Just you get the replay, and you can see all of it. It's at thekristianharloff.com. If there is something like the tier wise, I do these one-on-one sessions. We also have these 15-minute kind of grab bag sessions where you sign up at a certain tier. And you sign up for 15 minutes with a member of the crew. Could be me, could be Steph, could be Roxy, could be Brett, could be anybody monthly. So take a look, thekristianharloff.com. And you also, at the $10 and up, you get any live events, any after parties that we do, they're included. So here is what we're going to give away for free this month. This is the Sith Council portion of the live event on Friday. Myself, Steph, and Mike. Here you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to do Sith Council. And Sith Council, as you guys know, is our Star Wars portion of the show. And we have an echo. Bravo. Sith Council to me has been, I've talked about it many times over, what I love about Sith Council is that everything I've done on this channel so far, I feel like I've been the most me. And it's always a thing, and I'm very thankful for everything that I've been able to do.
What else, Luke Eric?
I know. Is there... And I'd just like to say, for Brett Sheridan and the Flirtin' Flaus is the luckiest man in the face of the earth. Is there any way we can get that echo down? No chance? All right. We're going to have fun with that one, Brady. But Sith Council to me has been a real treat to do, and I love working with the two characters I'm about to bring up. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Darth Sabraw and Darth Kalinowski. Word around the office. So yeah, we're very excited to do this this show with you guys, and there's a lot to talk about, man. Star Wars has been in the news quite a lot. How many Star Wars fans we got? Round of applause. Sith Council guy knows it.
That's right.
So I want to ask you guys. Mike and I have known each other now. It's over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
So Mike sends me today. He's like, see, look at this, and it's this Lindelof thing. What did you see in the Lindelof stuff?
Lindelof came off saying,
Wait, was this not in the group chat?
No.
No, Mike's a real asshole.
Yeah. And you never respond to my text either. But anyway,
Me?
that's a whole other thing.
I do the little the thumbs up
Okay,
thing.
all right, here we go.
That's because it wasn't in the group
No,
chat.
because we talked about it like a couple weeks ago, where it's like, people are always like, "You guys are so negative, Lindelof." He wanted to Star Wars, like he wanted to do it. He's off. So he comes out now. He's like, "Hey, I didn't leave Star Wars. Star Wars left me.
Yeah.
I fired him." So it's fascinating to hear this stuff that kind of comes out later. And I had heard this is kind of like a guy that works. He's an executive level.
The guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
He'd say, "Don't say my name," but he had heard that Lindelof had the script, wrote the script that what he wanted. They brought in the director from the Marvel or Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
And she was starting to do stuff that he didn't like. They were butting heads, and Ken and Lucasfilm were like, "You're gone."
It's always tough.
Again?
Yeah, it's always tough though, Steph, because it's like what you don't know. So there's a lot of rumors going on. Like even on Roca and Snyder's show today, they talked about how it was supposed to be like years in the future, and that there was a different actresses as far as older goes. You never know, and Snyder's been pretty spot on lately, but you never know what's real, what's not. But we do know that there's been these problems with Lucasfilm, with directors and stuff too. So when you hear this today, what do you think?
I want to know the full tea. Like, I'm so annoyed of not knowing everything that... Can you imagine if they were just open with it and we just knew, like, who didn't like each other, what went wrong, but instead we're like, like, business differences, like, bullshit.
Kathleen Kennedy. So why didn't it work with Gareth Edwards? He was an asshole and didn't like my tea set. Okay, fine.
Right, we get it.
Thanks, Kathleen.
We get it then because we know, but now we don't know, and it's like, I love Damon Lindelof.
Me too, and it's like it's bummer that like we said, it's one thing because there were a lot of people that were saying, well, that's what happens, guys. They develop stuff and then people just leave. Sometimes that is true when you're hired to do a process, but he was hired to
do the thing. He was hired. He said it.
He came in with a pitch. He had his idea. Like,
Yeah.
this is my Star Wars idea. I wanted Rey in the future.
He finished the script.
60 years or something.
Is that well? That's again. We don't know if that's
Rumor,
factual
but-
or not.
Yeah, allegedly.
So it's not like they just said, "Hey, we're going to hire you to write a Star Wars movie for us." He had an idea, and they pay him.
So-
but then they took his idea and said,
Right.
"You're out. We're
Well,
using the idea."
Let's do the flip side of that though, and the understanding wise, because there's a lot. Like, so let me ask, round of applause here. Who's all for an idea of a Rey movie coming back? Round of applause. Okay. People who don't want it to happen. Look at that. So very, very rare. So that's kind of the, like, even though the loud people on the internet are like, no, we don't need this woke bullshit. It's like, those movies made $1 billion. Every one of them, Rogue One, they all made, except Solo. And you could even, if you were Kathleen Kennedy, you could say, Iger, that one's on you. Because you wanted that to come out in May, and we wanted it to come out in December when we were hitting home runs.
Yeah.
So she can point and say, So it does make sense on a producer side of things to say, let's get our character. Sorry, Damon, if that's not who you want. She's going to sell tickets. She's been selling tickets. And it's we could get $1 billion here off the get, whether you like the business side of it or not. I don't like that strategy, but I get it.
Yeah, it's all like Disney Plus and Disney are super about their business, and there's a majority of people who liked Rey as a character, and I feel like if you're just following that, some people are gonna like it. But I do agree they should be following what's the best storyline for Star Wars moving forward.
Yeah, and then Mike, you hate most things. So what do you?
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, here we go.
But what do you?
What are you proposing?
What is she proposing? Can I tell you how upset I was at Celebration last year? Like, we were like, Mike and I put a thing out there. It's like, if you see Steph, scream at her. What is she proposing? And we give her like a free shirt or something, and she didn't know it. And then at the very end, it happened, right?
Like a light fart in the wind.
Yeah, but at the very end, it happened. I think at the last day.
Yeah.
But anyway, but Mike, when it comes to the stuff that's happening, because they did announce a lot of stuff. They announced these 3 movies. They announced a plan. They announced a timeline. Are you feeling hopeful with what's going on with Star Wars at the moment? I'm asking you, yeah.
Be honest.
Oh, I'm asking you on the spot. Be honest.
Hey, man, like Star Wars is like, I can swear here, right? Star Wars is like a blowjob.
Just talking about jerking off for like fucking 20 minutes.
I'm gonna say this.
Coy's
Star
talking about
Wars-
eating ass.
Star Wars is like getting head. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
All right.
So I'm just saying. I mean, it's Star Wars.
You're still getting Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right.
Mando 3 wasn't my favorite of the 3, but it's still fucking
You're
Star Wars.
supposed to love everything they give you.
Everything's awesome, buddy. Everything's awesome, man. No, man, it's just, we talked about this, like, and I think the cool thing was we reached out to a lot of people on Twitter and talking to people. People are still in the same thing after the celebration. After the hype dies down, it's like, well, when I start seeing stuff, when I start seeing pictures on set, then I'll believe this. We've been for so long of like how many directors we've lost and this and that. So when we start seeing stuff, there's so much good stuff that's already out there and to look forward to that we know is coming.
Yeah, and it's also I mean, even listening to live audience and listening to people like, again, because we know that on the internet the loud voices on the comment section can they seem like they're the majority, but they really are not. Like, and I think tonight was even that one question, the amount of people that were like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to see a Rey movie. So I also, here's another question: how many people not loved? How many people liked Mandalorian season 3? Round of applause. Okay. How many people, round of applause, did not like it? but I mean that's the thing. So it's still, granted, it lost a bit of its audience, but it was still it did really well. And like I was talking to somebody, someone asked me, and they said, it was Brett. Brett's like, we were going, because that Katie interview that we just did really well, right? And like clips were getting shared around and all that stuff. And Brett was like, it's interesting because Diego Luna did good, but not as well as Katie. And I was like, look, the Andor series was awesome, but Mandalorian has a big fucking audience. Yeah. And that's kind of, and I still think there's a way to get to season 4. You guys were more so feeling like it was a series finale. I didn't feel that, but overall, TV-wise, how do you think they're looking, shaping up with Acolyte and all that stuff?
I think TV is really where we're excited about. I like the Ahsoka series, right? And the Acolyte feels like they actually have a plan, and I think coming off the heels of Andor, when we want a show that's focused on the dark side, that they're willing to go darker with it, which I think all Star Wars fans are waiting for that, especially with it being on Disney Plus. We're like, are you going to do it? And then Andor did.
It did, and I think that you're absolutely right because I said it for a while, and I also that's what I hope that you guys get out of our show is that I never want to be that show that just sticks our feet down and goes, no matter what we say, we ain't changing our opinion. I think that's bullshit. It's immature. It doesn't work. Because, for example, like I said, Disney and Lucas didn't have the balls to make the Acolyte about a bad guy, and they said, "Well, fuck you, asshole, we do," and that's exactly what happened, right? They're gonna, and I was like, okay, and I said, every episode is gonna be 30 minutes. We're making 55-minute episodes, and I think that's the way to go. I hope because I heard that interview with Filoni where and I love Dave Filoni, but when he said like, yeah, we're taking the Lucas kind of approach and going faster, more intense and shorter episodes. No. Don't do that. The shorter episodes, you can't build on characters the same way. So, but as you're saying with Acolyte, I'm loving everything I'm hearing about Acolyte so far. Let's hope that we get it that way because people were saying inside the audience that it was like Andor with lightsabers. Yeah.
Mike, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, Acolyte. Yeah, about Acolyte.
Lightsabers.
Well,
Lightsabers. Boo!
There we go. Okay, hold on a second. I had said this a while ago, and it just said, you know what? I just want Star Wars once that doesn't have a lightsaber, a Skywalker, or the Force in it. And they're like, you're fucking crazy.
Like, what?
That is fucking Star Wars.
You guys, be for real. Like,
and every episode of Andor, no fucking lightsabers,
Right.
not even a May the Force be with
Right.
you. And it's the best Star Wars that television has been.
It was. I mean, it's writing wise, it's hard.
What's
that?
up?
There wasn't a May the Force.
Never have made the Force be with you. I was watching. Don't worry, because I can fucking drill a hole in you two fuckers every week.
But I think season 2 you're probably going to lose
You
that.
think so?
Yeah,
You think so?
I think
You're
so.
the same guy that said Bo's gonna be riding the fucking mythosaur in the finale. You remember you told me that?
She should have,
She's gonna be
motherfucker. I'll
riding
tell you
the
that.
fucking mythosaur. Oh, that fucking thing.
Hey, listen.
And now I was like, I ship Bo and Din. Like, can we just have a story where a male character and a female character are not shipped together?
We did. I mean, we got that.
did.
We did get
But
that.
everyone wanted
You
it.
weren't happy.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted it.
Yeah, that's what I told you.
Fuck.
Fucking Gerald again.
I want the guy to be a fucking eunuch in his house now.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Okay,
Eunuch
take it
with
easy.
Grogu.
All right, relax. Calm down.
I'm getting fired up.
I like it. I like it.
Worked out.
It's true. Say, if we did this,
I've been sitting-
live
I
all
had
the
my
time,
head in
God
a
help
fucking
you.
dinosaur all day at Universal over there with Mario and everything, and I come in hot.
How crazy have you been going since Mario Land, whatever,
Are
opened
you
up?
fucking kidding me? People, I don't feel they got these bracelets they walk around and they're going up to the dinosaur with the bracelets. I'm in Jurassic World. It's a separate fucking thing. I'm like, and I can't say anything, but I'm in that dinosaur outfit. I'm like, oh, this fucking kid.
Mama, why is Norman Bates chasing Yoshi? Why are you chasing Yoshi?
You're like such a dad without having kids.
Yeah,
It's a good
100%.
thing I never have kids. It's a good thing, man.
You should have seen him at Riley's wedding with the fucking dogs playing shuffleboard. 80 years old. Yeah, but no, look, I think Star Wars does have a lot of there's a lot of stuff that you can be hopeful, but one this is again rumors. This is people like, why do you talk about rumors? Because what if? What if?
Not?
There's another rumor going on. I don't know how many of you guys heard this too, and I saw this, and there's the whole Luke Skywalker side of things. I don't know if you guys saw. There was a report going around. I don't know how true it is. I don't know where it came from, but that apparently that there's been like a mandate that Kathleen Kennedy said no more Luke Skywalker. That's I don't know how true it is, and I had just done an episode of how much I think if they're gonna do a Zahn kind of tie-in to Heir of the Empire, it's like you gotta have him. But apparently that's one of, and I don't know how true it is. It's gonna be total bullshit. And Kathleen Kennedy's like, you better put him in there. But the report is, if that mandate is there and there's no Luke Skywalker, can that work out, Steph? And B, should it?
I don't. Yeah, it could work out, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you
There's
think he's gonna show up?
100%.
Yeah.
I also really loved that commercial. Did you see with Cal Kestis and Luke? That was a great. That was like the
was
first
good.
time Star Wars
Yeah.
has had a funny commercial in
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah. Well, Mike, do you
Yeah.
think that Luke's gonna show up, and should he?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm torn. You know, you see these things, and it's like Luke they would de-age him, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're getting Indiana Jones' 25 minutes of young Harrison Ford.
Love
so,
that. Yeah.
you know,
They did it well in Boba
and
Fett.
and it worked.
Yeah.
It works. You know, I love Luke. He's what I grew up with. So, but I think it's very important to introduce new characters and create new characters. Like people might not like Rey if you like Rey or whatever, but there's a generation that's their
That's
Luke
their
to
thing.
them.
Yeah, it's the same with the prequels. People
Yeah,
grew up with the prequels,
right.
and
So
there's a lot of
it's
generations.
important to create new stories, but Luke's Luke. He's the heart of the saga. So.
Well, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for where the saga goes. I'm excited for you guys to see more of the Sith Council because we've been doing really good stuff with it. I'm excited about. We have so much. I mean, again, with Skeleton Crew coming up, we got Acolyte coming up, Andor season 2, and then when the movies finally start coming out, we'll see. But either way, I think that we have a lot to talk about. And again, everybody who's here tonight, thank you so much for the support of this show. And thank you. And again, I love working with these two so much because every one of the shows that we do, I've always wanted to kind of add the blend of like the comedy with it. And that's what Ellis and I always did so well together. And I wanted to make sure that kind of transferred over to this. So I'm glad you guys are joining it. But I want to give a big round of applause to Steph and Mike for Sith Council. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. And we'll see you Wednesday, I guess. Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday for sure.
Yes.
Give it up for Mike and Steph, everybody. Thank you. All right. Thanks, brother man. All right. So next portion.
All right, there you have it. Mike, Steph, me talking about everything, and that I mean, there's so much with the Lindelof thing. Let's talk about that before we get into your questions. So, the reports, right, as we mentioned on inside of that live event, 60 years into the future. He wanted to do his story again. If you let's say we're believing all of these rumors that happen, we don't. The reason that I do actually believe the 60 years into the future, the Helen Mirren portion of it, all that, I believe it 100%. Why? Because I heard from somebody not connected with Snyder at all. I heard from 2 or 3 different people, all not connected with each other. And said the same exact thing. And they had no idea that these other people we've been talking. Same exact thing. Word for word. That, this is what he wanted to do. And then it wasn't that he got Helen Mirren. It was like that's who he was prototyping, that character of Rey. That's who his ideal casting would be. Now, I love this idea. And I said this as much the other day. I understand both sides of it. And if you want to watch my full take, I mean, I can kind of reiterate some of the points of it, but I understand both sides of it, of why creatively, I think that the 60 years into the future and the Helen Mirren portion or the older Rey works much better creatively. And I saw someone who very politely disagreed with me and said, well, Rey's not a fresh enough character to just reboot. No one's saying that you can't go back and revisit her again. Just the first one out the gate of doing a new movie is you can detach from the 7, 8, 9. You can detach from them without completely saying they don't exist. Saying no, this is a new story that we're doing, and this Rey is kind of like the Obi-Wan Alec Guinness version of the story, and we're setting up new characters and new lore and a new time period because we're 60 years into the future, and it's so far removed from everything, but still acknowledging stuff that happened in the past. And there's new government, there's all these different things that you can set up, but I wouldn't set up Empire. I don't know what they were going to set up, but there's a way to do that where you can just explore and kind of push into a new era. 15 years makes sense financially, because 60 years puts you at a risk that if you don't cast correctly, if there's not a familiarity to, and as much as Helen Mirren's a legend, she ain't putting asses in the seats. It just ain't going to happen. Now, you can, and as we said in that report on for the live show, Daisy Ridley is very popular with people, whether or not you want to hear the people loud and screaming and yelling and making thumbnails and stuff with red eyes and all that stuff. It's you can do that all day long, but those movies made $1 billion, and yes, I agree. I don't think it's the direction that they should go, personally, creatively, but I understand financially why they're doing it. And I love Daisy Ridley. I just think right away for the first movie out, I think again creatively, if you look at the creative choices as opposed to the financial reasons behind it, this is a financial move. Now, bringing in Stephen Knight, and again, I think that Obed Chinoy is a great storyteller so far from what I saw in Ms. Marvel. And if she gets a great script from Stephen Knight, this could be a fantastic movie. I think that it is silly and immature to fold your arms and say, this is going to be bad, even if you don't agree with it creatively. You don't know yet. It could be. Could be great. Who knows? I think that's the balance of what we talk about in this show. You don't have to be part of the Everything is Awesome crew. You also don't have to hate everything. And if you want to be part of those crews, do that also. But on this side of it, it's like, well, let's see. There's a possibility this could be fantastic. It's a possibility they could drop the ball. But I understand both sides. I understand why. It's just the thing that I don't understand is this, and Mike and I have talked about it. I don't know if Mike said this on the air, but what I'm confused about is Lindelof comes in, he pitches a project. And this seems to be happening over and over and over again. So Lindelof pitches a project. You would assume that the project he pitched was this 60 years into the future with an older Rey. To which they go, okay, great. And then what happens? He submits the script. They don't like it. Possible. And there's a creative meeting without him in it. And they go, hey, this bringing Rey back, probably a good idea, but why don't we take a meeting with Daisy and see if she wants to do it? And instead of 60 years, we do 15 years. Because what I had heard was they didn't really even bring Daisy Ridley in until Lindelof was gone. Like as far not meetings. She had meetings obviously beforehand. We knew that. We talked about that. But signing her, apparently she wasn't signed on to the project 2 or 3 weeks before Star Wars Celebration. That's after Lindelof was gone. So he didn't have Daisy Ridley in his thing. But if the meeting was okay, we kind of the idea of bringing her back, but what if we then start to bring bring her back, but she'll be kind of training people and we'll change it up, and that goes into that rumor that maybe Mike had just talked about with the director and Lindelof just not seeing eye to eye, and where maybe she was like, can you, instead of doing 60, can we do 15? And the other side of it is that, from what I heard, is that maybe that Lindelof didn't necessarily choose the director that he was working with. He was assigned. And if you're going to be brought on to develop a project, this was there's times that where you're just hired to write it. And it's okay, here's my draft. I'm out. But the reports are that he wanted that it was his project to develop and put together. At least that's what it seems like. This is not factual. This is just a lot of things that, again, behind the scenes maybes and things that we hear and all that. We who knows what it really is. But this is what it sounds like to me. At least this is the story that I'm believing. And if other reports come out later that contradict that, then so be it. But it's just, it does lend back into the Patty Jenkins of it all, the Gareth Edwards, the freaking the Colin Trevorrow, the Feige stuff, the Benioff and Weiss. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's communication ain't happening the right way. And still. Now, do they right the ship here with, that ain't going to happen with Filoni. Probably not going to happen now with Chinoy and I think it's Obeyed Chinoy, excuse me. And I couldn't imagine happening with Mangold. But who knows? I mean, the Taika one, let's talk about that Taika story. And then we'll move on to your questions. All right, this is Star Wars News Net reporting from Deadline. They say, this is from our buddy Miguel Fernandez, the best. Star Wars Celebration came and went, and while we had 3 feature film announcements come out of London, there was no mention of Taika Watiti or his movie. It may have been out of caution, as Watiti is a bit of a wild card at the moment, given the number of projects he's committed to. But there's a new report suggesting how he'd be traveling to galaxy far, far away sooner rather than later. Now, Deadline said that Taika Watiti is circling yet another film to write and direct, an adaptation of Kazuo Ishiguro, Clara and the Sun, which he landed on after weighing in a variety of options, including focusing on Star Wars next. Here's the key part, though. According to Deadline, Watiti is still excited about his Star Wars movie and committed to directing that next year. There are a few things to analyze here. First, Watiti's next project after Love and Thunder has been a bit of a question mark for a while. His upcoming Next Goal Wins comes out in September, has been in post-production for a long time, and should be completed by now. Prior to the release of Thor Love and Thunder, he had signed on to a multitude of projects, and despite that, he said he'd hoped to have his Star Wars movie out, and Kennedy even suggests he would be making the 2025 film, which seems to be Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's project starring Daisy Ridley. Okay, so a couple things to break down here. As I mentioned, I think Taika Watiti is an amazing filmmaker. I think he's hilarious. I think his stories are great. I'm not excited about him doing a Star Wars movie that he wrote. A Star Wars movie that someone else wrote, I would be more excited about. But again, same thing I just said before. Let's see what he. I can tell you, I hope to be so disappointed in my own self by doubting this guy. That's what I hope. I hope saying like, "You dummy, you almost didn't want that movie," and that's the best Star Wars movie we've gotten. Well, that's what I want. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what I want. Understand that's what I always want. To say, I wasn't happy about that when that was announced, but man, did he deliver on that one. Holy moly, that was great. Who knew that was going to be so spectacular? Look at Andor. Look at Andor to me. Andor was one that I said, okay, we'll see what we got. Andor's fantastic. I can't wait for Andor Season 2. So I'm hoping the same thing happens with this Taika movie. I really do. Because, I don't know. It also, as far as where it's going to land, it seems like the reports were that it's going to land around the same time period as this Daisy Ridley movie, or at least outside of it. It might not be connected at all, and nor do I think it should be. I think that's going to be where they start to get into dangerous territories, where they start connecting these stories right away when there's no plan to do so. Don't do one of these things where it's like, hey, our time period is, oh, you know what? We'll put a couple things in there, and that might contradict what you're doing, but who cares? Don't do that. Just have them be completely separate, completely different. The one thing that I also want to say, because I've been very, very, very skeptical about a Taika Watiti movie, the other thing is, too, I don't want to disregard that he learned a lot of stuff on that set on season 1 of Mandalorian, working with Filoni and Favreau, and his season finale, what he directed, was fantastic. He didn't write it, but he definitely had influence on it. You can tell from that opening scene. But he probably learned a lot about Star Wars, more so than he ever knew beforehand. So who's to say he's not going to bring that into his next movie? But every one of his movies has a Taika Waititi stamp on it. And as I've mentioned to you guys until I was blue in the face and said it so many different times, the scariest thing I ever saw was when I was at that premiere screening of Thor: Love and Thunder, and they were doing an interview with Kevin Feige. And normally, every time they ask, "What's this one? What's this genre of movie?" And he said, "Well, this is a spy thriller. This is a heist film. This is kind of like a John Hughes movie." Every time, that was always the answer. But when they asked him about this, he's like, "Oh, this isn't any of them. This is a Taika Waititi movie." I said, "Uh-oh. That's not. You don't want a Taika Waititi movie in a Marvel standalone. You don't want it in a Star Wars movie. You don't want it in DC. You want a Taika Waititi movie when it's a Taika Waititi movie, because he does it great." Yeah, I hope that that's not the case, and it feels like it might be when you heard the comments by Kathleen Kennedy when she's like, "Oh, we don't bother him. He doesn't want to be bothered. We just leave him alone, let him do his own thing." It's like, uh-oh, that's not promising. But I do think it's a smart move that it's not the first one out the gate, and if they are filming it, let's say next year, then maybe they do start coming out with movies once a year, and if that's the case, this is what the schedule might look like, hypothetically. 2025 is the Daisy Ridley movie. 2026 is the Filoni movie. 2027 is the Taika movie. And 2028 is Mangold. I think that's a mistake to announce movies that far into the future. I mean, come on. How do we know it's going to happen? Why would you say that? Lots can go wrong. Lots can go wrong. But, hey, man, we're getting Star Wars, Fingers crossed that it works out. I'm again, hoping it all is fantastic. It all plays together. All right, we're going to get to your questions now, and there's a ton of them. So let's get to them. And before we do, I have told you guys so many times, and whether it's getting yourself one of these Sith Council sweatshirts, I love this one. It's nice and cozy, by the way. And you can do that. Links in the description how to get Sith Council. It's our most, don't tell Big Thing and don't tell Capes and Cows, but this is hands down by many percentages the most purchased piece, whether it's a mug, sweatshirt, shirt, all of it. It's Sith Council, baby. But any of that, we've got great sponsors on this show. And someone asked me recently, someone sent me like a Facebook thing. They're like, what's your code for this sponsor? Because I want to try it out. I listen to your show and I want to try it out. Please do that, whether it's DMs, tweets, any of these things that you think are going to be right for you. Not everybody can join the website. Check out the sponsors. And if they're right for you, get them. And we got really great ones today, man. So happy to be working with both Sunday and obviously Athletic Greens. You guys know we've been with Athletic Greens for a while. There's a reason they've been with us for so long, because you guys keep getting them and keep loving them and keep re-upping with them, and so they re-up with us. All right, so let me tell you about both Sunday and Athletic Greens right now. We are very excited to be talking about our next partner here. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens every day. I've been talking about them for months. It's coming up on years at this point. For me, I take it in the morning as the day's getting going. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. Done. It gives me good energy. I've been talking about it forever. Brett loves it. Katie Sackhoff loves it. Why? Because it just makes it simple. You just I'm not a big vitamins guy. I like one shot, done. For me, it helps energy, sleep quality. And I just never understood, why would you take a bunch of different things? You can just take one scoop of powder in water once a day and you're good. It's a good life hack. It's really great. That's why I love and I trust AG1 by Athletic Greens, and so many of you guys do too now, since hearing about it on this show. It gets delivered to you once a month. Very easy to make it a daily habit. I get the travel packs when I go on the road, when I'm doing the Comic-Cons and things. It's so easy. You just take care of your body each day, and it's that simple. So if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Check it out. And you guys know about Sunday. I've been talking about it actually for the last couple of weeks. And, it's almost spring. Pretty much spring here. But it's almost spring. The weather's getting better. And for me, we've been working on the yard a lot. So we get everything going, and my wife's a big, she likes to make sure that spring and the flowers and new stuff's going on with the garden. And we have this lawn care now with Sunday. It makes it very easy to enjoy. And the days are longer. The flowers are blooming, and you can spend a lot of time in the yard. And it's really, really good. You can reclaim your weekend, man. Reclaim your yard. Sunday's everything that you need to get the lawn that you dreamed of. If you go to getsunday.com/bigthing and you enter your address to get a customized plan created just for your lawn, there's no trips to the store or hauling heavy bags, since they ship it straight to your home. You just need a hose. It's that easy. You just put it on the hose, and then you apply Sunday. You can fertilize your whole lawn in less time than it takes to watch an episode of your favorite TV show. It's easy and it's affordable. Some lawn care services are for more than $1,500 a year. Sunday's full season plan starts at just $109. Yeah. Sunday is offering our listeners 20% off. These deals, guys, I'm telling you. Full season plans start at $109, and you can get 20% off, but you have to use that code. You got to use getsunday.com/bigthing, and you use that at checkout. That's 20% off your custom plan at getsunday.com/bigthing. All right, thank you once again to Sunday and Athletic Greens. My lawn looks good. If you try it, please try it and let me know what you guys think. Very excited, and we want them back because they're so good. And obviously, Athletic Greens are just the best. All right, let's get into some of your questions, man. There's a ton of them. There's some good ones. So let's do it. Questions. I'm going to start with this one. James Deezer, 1468. What up, James? You think Ahsoka is going to be the lead character of Filoni's movie? While we don't know how the story plays out, it would make sense. There's something really beautiful and poetic about being with him every step of the way and making the jump to live action and then now film. Also, because of that, do you think that the movie is where he gives her some kind of definitive ending, retirement? It's a fantastic question all the way through. And I think it plays into what we talked about in the live portion of the show earlier. It really depends on. It doesn't depend. The answer to the question, I believe, is yes. Is a resounding yes. The question is how much, as opposed to the Luke Skywalker of it all, because Filoni, from what I heard, is not like a massive canon book guy now. He doesn't pay attention to the stuff going on in canon and making sure that it's going to be relevant to the story he's telling. The animated and all that stuff is. But what I also heard is that he's a big heir to the Empire guy, and he talks about it kind of quite often. And he's a big Zahn guy. And I think they even kind of reference it. They're going to be pulling stuff from some of those Zahn novels inside of this. And an Heir to the Empire story would be amazing. The question is, does Ahsoka kind of take over the role that Luke was serving in those novels? If this mandate by Kathleen Kennedy is accurate, I don't necessarily think it is. But if it is, then it would make sense that Ahsoka is going to be the one that kind of takes over for Luke. I think that would be a mistake in general to not have Luke in it, considering that you set it up in that Boba Fett thing where am I going to see you again? And I also was vague, maybe, whatever. But you brought in this Shamook guy, who's one of the best deepfake guys out there. Use him. Put Luke in there. Plus, and I said this in the last show, that's how you're going to market that movie. You got to market it with Luke to get casual people in there who ain't watching Ahsoka and The Mandalorian on TV, and you want to get the casual viewers in the theater. If they don't know what the hell's going on with Ahsoka and Mandalorian, you're just getting the core audience, and you need to get the casual audience, and you're going to get the casual audience if you have Luke. And if the gimmick is putting Luke in there with the deep fake stuff, then do it. I think that they do, but I still don't think that takes away from the fact that Ahsoka will be the lead character. I think that, yes, I think everything's going to be set up that she is the lead character. And I also, to answer the last part of your question, I do think she's going to have a definitive ending because she kind of has to. Unless they go inside of this World Between Worlds thing where it does set up a potential, I don't want to say multiverse because the word's kind of getting icky now. But I would say, maybe an alternate timeline. I don't know. It depends on how they set it up. But I do think she'll have a definitive ending. I do think that she'll be the lead character of the movie. And you are not in bad company when Rosario Dawson is the star of your film. She's led many movies before. She's a really great actress. She's passionate about the character. But I do think it would be a mistake if they don't market with Luke and they don't have Luke in the movie or in this story in general. If it's a Kathleen Kennedy note, I think it's a bad note. If it's a Kathleen Kennedy note, to have him, I think is a good note. So give credit to both decisions should she decide to make both of those calls. All right, next one. All right, Daniel, what's up? Daniel 2626. Hey, Kristian, which of the 3 announced movies at Star Wars Celebration do you think is the biggest chance of being a box office success? And also, which of the 3 do you predict is going to be the most well-received by fans? Tough questions. I think that all 3 have a chance of being box office successes. For one, this is something that someone said the other day in a comment. They said, because we were talking about like Kathleen Kennedy making $1 billion. They said anybody can make $1 billion with Star Wars. It's Star Wars. I said, well, then explain Solo. And they said, well, that's a good point, but there were no lightsabers in it. And I was like, but that's not what you said. You said anybody can make a Star Wars movie and make them, and put $1 billion in the account. Well, it's like that old thing when, you had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Of course you can win championships. You still got to call the plays. And, this is a play where the thing is they are putting this movie out with Daisy Ridley because they're going for that box office. And they're going to continue off of the success those movies had, whether they had drops or not. And remember, it's also going to be, what is that, 6 years removed from a Star Wars movie being in the theater by the time that they get it in the theater. So people are going to be kind of hungry for a Star Wars film to see it on the big screen. And I think that it's gonna. That first one is gonna do really well. Now, if you're asking what's gonna make the most out of the 3, it just goes back to the previous conversation. How are they gonna market the Filoni movie? What is the state of the Star Wars fandom because right now there are a lot of people who really, again, there are a lot of people who really enjoyed season 3 of Mandalorian. Now, there's a lot of people for this. There's no doubt that out of the 3 seasons, this is the most divisive out of the 3. There's no argument there. But can season 4 bring back the same kind of, it seemed like the fandom was kind of, after the trilogy, they were split. And then after season 1 of Mandalorian, it seemed like everybody was kind of, look, all right, we can all be friends again. And that seems like now there's more people, more pockets kind of going off and doing their thing again and saying, and I agree, there's a lot of stuff that I did not like about this season. There's a lot of stuff that I did. But it wasn't as good as 1 and 2. I thought Katie was fantastic. I thought Katie was the best part of the whole entire show. And I think that even listening to that interview when I was talking to her, it's like you have this big speech that she was going to do that could have developed the character more, and then they cut it to do these 32-minute episodes. And I think there was just mistakes that were made all the way around. But that's a different conversation. If they can get back on track and everybody's on board with season 4 and Ahsoka delivers in the way that I think it will, and Skeleton Crew is kind of a surprise, and then they lead into Ahsoka season 2, which eventually, and then obviously with Mandalorian season 4, Ahsoka season 2, and then I don't know if Skeleton Crew gets to season 2. I have no idea. But leading up to enough hype to where people are really excited, that's how you get the core fan base. And then, as I said, you've got to find a way to get the casual audience in that theater. The casual audience is going to be there for the Daisy Ridley movie. I use my wife as an example all the time for that. The casual audience is going to be there for the Daisy Ridley movie. You've already that's the reason why Kathleen Kennedy makes that decision, if it is, again, true, of saying, we can't do Helen Mirren type. We can't do that. We need someone more recognizable. Even Lindelof was like, we'll put stars in it. Sure, but people know Daisy Ridley. It's a sure bet. We want to go with Daisy Ridley. So that's going to be, and the movie has to be good, obviously, too, but you're going to do well there. The Filoni movie, you've got to find a way to market. If you market with Luke, you got a shot. Now, the Mangold one is very good. I was so upset. I didn't think he was going to show up, and today he's throwing rocks. Sure, perfect. Nice to see you. The Mangold movie is an interesting one because it's Mangold, right? That one has the potential to be a juggernaut because it's so far removed from anything. You're establishing a whole brand new period in general. It's Mangold, again. And if it delivers in the way that you think that it could be massive. It could be massive. But that's harder to say because there's just not enough known from it at all. But that one has the potential to be huge. And by the time you get... And Mangold will probably have done, whether it's Swamp Thing or other things too, he'll probably get Swamp Thing off the ground before the Star Wars one. To me, it seems like the pieces would move closer. He's got more time to do the Star Wars one in general. So that's my thought process there. All right, next one. Mr. Picklesworth, $16.90. Not a question. You need to play Jedi Survivor, then do a Sith Council on it when you're done. It's amazing. So I started it, and you're not wrong. So far, it is amazing. And the story's great, and the music's great. And it felt so reminiscent to... It was like a great mix between the prequels and the original trilogy, like the opening scene of him just in there's an opening scene, I don't want to spoil it for him, but right where you first get to Cal, where he is, it's like it just feels like Star Wars, like right away. And it's like I wonder though, man, I could be wrong. I mean, and again, I might very well be wrong, but it's the same thing with like Visions. Do they have way more creative freedom? Because it's just not the stuff that Kathleen Kennedy and the other crew is involved in? Or are they very involved? And are they giving notes on the creative and the same way that they do on other projects, whether it's Mandalorian Season 3 or... I don't know. I don't know the answer to that story. I wonder how involved the executives at Lucasfilm are. And please don't Disney. No, this is a Disney executives ruin this. They don't have any say in the creative on these shows. It's the higher ups at Lucasfilm. So if you're going to give credit to the execs, do it at Lucasfilm. If you're going to point the finger at anybody, point it at Lucasfilm. Now you can point the finger at Disney if they're not giving them enough money. That's true. So anyway, this Jedi Survivor I really enjoy so far, and I'll probably It's not available for PS4. I have a PS4 and I have the new Xbox. Why do I have the new Xbox? Because I was trying for the longest time to get the PS5, and I'm not a console hunter, guys. There's some people that will go above and beyond. They'll go on a Cal Kestis adventure to get the PS5. I kept checking every day, going, "It's not available. Let's just get the Xbox. It's fine." And I got an Xbox. I'm playing on an Xbox, the new one. Yeah, I know. I don't. You can judge me. I don't care. I'm not as big of a gamer as you are. I got consoles to play different games, and I'm playing the game. So I started playing it yesterday, and I really like it. But I will. I mean, my goal is I wanted to Twitch. I wanted to do Twitch to it. And Brett and I are trying to figure out if we can figure out a way. Yeah, and I'm playing it on one of the easiest levels too. I don't give a crap about challenging myself when it comes to these games. I just want to see the story. So don't tell me when it comes to, well, you got to challenge yourself. No, I don't. I don't want to fall off cliffs anymore. I just want to play this game, and I want to find out what happens. That's it. Get me there. I don't want to. Oh, don't you need to really challenge yourself and fight stormtroopers at a harder level? No, I don't. Let me kill them easy and make them think I'm a lot more powerful of a Jedi than I really am. I'm okay. I'll lie to myself. It's fine. Jamakowski 7715. If Lucasfilm ever does a Tales of the Sith series, similar in concept to Tales of the Jedi, which dark side users would you like to see? Well, I think it's a no-brainer for me. Revan, Malik, Bane, Plagueis, Palpatine, young Palpatine, for sure, and Vader. Absolutely, show me maybe the whole side of the Ventress thing of what happened with Dark Disciple. Show me that. There's tons that they can do and add new stuff and to play inside of the Old Republic era. They've now set up the timelines. Show me some Old Republic stuff. Show me some New Republic stuff. New Republic stuff is going to be trickier now because you got to set up Acolyte first because they're hiding in the shadows. Old Republic, they're all over the place. So yeah, I'd love to see Old Republic stuff. Absolutely, be great. I hope that they do it. I really do, and I hope that after Acolyte, leading with some bad guys, they decide that they wanted to give it a shot. Mr. 47. Has an adaptation in movie form of The Force Unleashed ever been considered by Lucasfilm? I'd love to see it as one-off film, and they should 100% bring Sam Witwer if it ever happens. So I don't know if it ever. I haven't heard any rumors that it has been. I think that a lot of the stuff inside of what they do inside of that Legends game contradicts now some of the stuff that they set up as far as how the rebellion was formed inside of Rebels itself. And there was no, and you would assume that at that point, where Force Unleashed takes place, the Rebels crew would have crossed paths with Starkiller at some point if that was it. So I don't see that happening. I know that myself included, Starkiller is a really beloved character. The only problem with Starkiller would, if they did make him in live action, is they'd have to find a way to make him a lot less powerful because he's really powerful in the games, like really powerful. So I'd love to see the idea of him coming into a live action one-off movie or something, but I don't think it's going to happen. And yeah, I am baffled. I am baffled that Sam Witwer has not been in a live action anything. Maybe they're trying to find the right role, or maybe they're doing exactly what you're asking here. Maybe they're waiting and going, look, we're not putting you in anything yet because we think we might be able to use Starkiller. And if that's the case, we want you for him. But the fact that he has not been in a live action Star Wars at all and not in a Filoni project is baffling to me. I'm so interested as far as why. He's been in all of Filoni's projects in animated. He is a Star Wars uber nerd, as we know, former Schmodown Star Wars champion, and he's just a fan. He's a mega fan. I think there's plans for him to do something. I just don't know what it is. What's your take on the rumors that Lindelof wanted Helen Mirren to play Rey 60 years into the future? I'm kind of glad we're not skipping that far ahead, as it would be Luke all over again, missing on seeing them in their prime. All right, so I understand that argument, right? I get it, because Daisy Ridley would be in her mid-30s. The Rey would be in her mid-30s when this movie takes place, the one that they're doing now, and it's probably the one of the reasoning behind them doing it is exactly what you just said. I think that there's a lot of people that feel that way, that not skipping ahead, but like I said earlier, they skip and jump back and forth all the time. Who's to say they couldn't have done a 60 year in the future and then done another? Daisy Ridley's only what? Let's see. Hey Siri, how old is Daisy Ridley? Daisy Ridley's 31 years old. If they decided they wanted to do another movie with Daisy Ridley in 10 years from now, she'd still only be 41 years old. They could still do a movie with her still in her prime. It doesn't, just because they do a movie 60 years in the future doesn't mean that, oh, now we can't ever do a movie with Daisy Ridley ever again. Of course they can. They can tell another one later on down the line. But look, the fact that she wanted to do it again and they could get her, like I mentioned, business-wise, it makes sense. And because if people want to see her in her prime and everything too, the difference is that there's a lot of people that feel that, similar to what I just said with Starkiller, she was really, really powerful. And the question is, like, she's still be able to fight, and she's still be able to lead these missions and do whatever she could be the lead character and do everything she wants to do, and it's not setting up new characters. It's not setting up it's that old thing of let's rely on people that we already have established. And it's like the old wrestling stuff. Just keep putting Hulk Hogan over as champ and don't develop your other superstars. And eventually you find yourself in 1992 where you have to build up your roster because you've buried them under one guy for too long. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case here, but that's what they do a lot in Star Wars. Like, oh, no, rely on the time periods in between the new trilogy and, maybe some prequel stuff here and there, but new trilogy, stay around that time period. They got to be familiar with stormtroopers. They got to know the Emperor's still out there. They got to know this. That's why the Acolyte is such a big swing for me, and I love it. Acolyte's the only one that's like not connected to anything. I mean, you probably get Yoda, so it's connected there, but it's such a different time period. It's so far away from the episode 1. So, I mean, look, I understand your point. I get it that people still want to see. If you're still like a Rey fan and you want to see it, and like I said, I like Rey. I'm on board, and I like the director, and I want to see what Stephen Knight can do. But I like the creative choice of doing an older version and setting up new characters. Also, I think creatively, it's a bigger swing. But also, if the script wasn't good, it wasn't good. Who knows? Bruce Crossford. What's up, Bruce? If he appears in Season 2 of Andor, do you think that Tarkin will be a deep fake again like Rogue One or be replaced by another actor to portray the character? I think they're all in on... Interesting. Yeah? I didn't see that. Oh, it's a good point. Fantastic. What else? Nothing else? Oh, I forgot about that. Right. Okay. But did you like what they did in the last one? With the way that they maneuvered it and everything? No opinion on that? Okay. So Peter Cushing obviously kind of came back to life in Rogue One, and at the time in 2016 when it was released, the de-aging didn't look great, right? And then they used the same type of de-aging for Luke Skywalker in Season 1 of Mandalorian. I don't think it looked great. It was cool to see him, but it didn't look great. Then they used deepfake for Book of Boba Fett, which looked outstanding. I mean, just outstanding. Some of the best that I think I've ever seen. I hope that they do that. I think that they should do that at this point, and I think they should do it in general. You're able to do it now, and the AI stuff for voices it's evolving every day. Scary to some, but if it works, use it. And if you can get Peter Cushing's voice and you can do, a better deepfake version of him, I think that's what they do. That's what they should do. Javeratech Baby 33. Do you think that they should tackle the time period between Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace? Yeah, why not? I think that they should tackle stories that are good. If there's a good story in between, and I think that I'd like to see them get away from the time period I was just talking about, just because they did so much of it there. I'd really like to see them, now that they've set up this timeline of, for me, Old Republic is something I really think is an untapped well. I would love to see that happen. So we'll see if that goes down. I'd love to see it. But yeah, that time period you're talking about would be great. Another Adventures, maybe Plo Koon, whatever. I still think what would be a very interesting concept is just doing something like the dumb title of it is just the Star Wars show, right? And it's a 10-episode kind of anthology series, live action, but it could be, or 12 episodes, and it could be anything. Let's say the first 2 or 3 episodes are about, let's say it was Boba Fett. Boba Fett didn't have his own series. Boba Fett for 3 episodes, bounty hunting, doing things, whatever it might be, a Jabba thing, whatever. 3 episodes, arc, whatever. The next, very similar to what they do in Visions. And then the next 2 episodes are an Old Republic arc. And then there's a Lando arc or a Crimson Dawn arc. And it's just like, you're not tied to anything for too long, but you can also explore all over the place. And it's just a Star Wars anthology series, 12 episodes, Mace Windu for 2 episodes. Whatever. New characters, Plagueis, the birth of Palpatine, whatever. You don't want to do a whole series, do 3 or 4 episode arc, whatever it might be. And it's an anthology series, and you just call it the Star Wars show. And it's like, oh, it's a grab bag. What happened on last night's Star Wars show? Well, they actually explored. They did I didn't know what was going to happen, how they were going to do this, but they actually went to Kashyyyk and they did this thing, and it was pretty dark, but it had a lot of heart to it. And you saw some of the Wookiees. There was this new kind of smuggler kind of character that they introduced, kind of like a Dash Rendar feel to him, and maybe they bring him back, and then Lucasfilm or wherever too, they can go through the comments and they can see, well, that character really resonated with the fans. For season 2, bring him back in another arc, and you're just not as handcuffed. I would love to see a Star Wars anthology series. That's a dream project, because you can, every era, no matter where you wanted to go, you could go. There's 4 episodes in the High Republic. There's 2 episodes. They're going to explore a little bit of the Knights of the Republic. The Knights of the Republic were the most highly watched ones. The 3 episodes that they did, highly watched. So much that people want to see more and more of it. That one now we spin off into a series because they really want to see it. No one gave a crap about that one we did with this one. We thought it was going to be one. All right, well, don't do that angle anymore. I think that's the one project people always say, if you could have one project in Star Wars, what would you do? That one. That's what I would do. All right, everybody. Let's get to the next one. Sam G. 25999. With the Knights of the Republic remake seem to be put on hold indefinitely, do you think we'll get a TV series of it instead, especially since the Old Republic is officially part of the canon timeline? All right, I'm so confused by that. Can you send me, inside of a comment here today, can you send me an article where it's paused indefinitely? I thought it was just pushed back a little bit. From what I remember doing a short about it where they just pushed it back again. Is it indefinitely? Look, man, I think that they're going to explore the Old Republic at some point. I think that basically what I do think was a very, very smart move. I think instead of saying, here are all our projects and trying to do what DC and Marvel is doing, we just want to let you guys know these are the time periods that we're going to play in. So what it essentially allows people to do is, okay, so-and-so, you're pretty creative. We want to take a meeting with you. What do you got? Well, I was actually a big Knights of the Republic fan when I was coming up, and I would love to explore the Old Republic. And Kathleen Kennedy said, well, a lot of people want to do that. What's your take on it? Well, our take is this. We want to do a movie. We want to do a series. We want to do that. Oh, okay, so-and-so, what do you want to do? Well, I really was watching that Acolyte series, really liked the High Republic era. I'd like to play in the High Republic. I'd like to play in the Dawn of the Jedi. I'd like to play, I think that's what it sets up for the creatives to basically, if Kathleen Kennedy's taking meetings with people, hey, I know we're meeting with, I don't know, Matthew Vaughn next week. Can you, when he comes in, if he has a particular time period that he wants to play in, please let him know. I think it's a smart move. It's a good way to pitch to talent. It's a good way to pitch to these creatives. And hey, these are the timelines we're playing in. What stories do you want to do? I hope that one of those creatives comes in and says, come on, mother Fs, let's do a Knights of the Republic series. Let's do a series. Let's adapt. Let's do what Last of Us did. And let's adapt it into 2 seasons. And let's play. Eventually, evolving into whatever it might be to where we get to the Darth Bane of it all. And please, for the love of God, adapt those books. Oh my God, they're right in front of your face. Oh, it drives me crazy. They're right there. Adapt those books. 3 series. Adapt those books. They're right there. You own them. You own those books. Adapt them. What in the world? Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, I think that eventually you're going to get an Old Republic thing, but when, how, I don't know. Rightfully so. I think that the priority there are these movies. They got it. The movies are that's what puts the money in the bank account. That's what Disney paid for. So here you go. Ferdinand Brutal, 4762. Do you think we'll get more than one Dave Filoni movie set during the New Republic era? I mean, that's a question of success and creative desire on Filoni's part. I'm sure he wants to, and I'm sure that if it's a successful movie, they're going to want him to. They're going to want him to do more. They're going to want him to tell more. They're going to, yeah, of course. And he's another one. He's only got to be like, what? If I was to guess, I would say Dave Filoni is 51 years old. Hey, Siri, how old is Dave Filoni? 48. 48 years old. A young man. He can do some stuff. So, yeah, man. I think if his movie is successful, now the question is, does he still want to play in television? Like it's a matter of want. It's a matter of, he has been pretty open about this is a new venture for him, directing movies and learning from people and all that stuff too. So he's live action, that is. He's obviously been directing animation for a long time. So I think that if it's successful, I think it's a guarantee. Now, whether it's in that era, I mean, he's pretty familiar with it, so he might want to venture off and do something else. It's a question. Who knows? I'd love to get him back in studio. I'd love to get him in studio. Talk to him for like 2 hours, man. Be great. All right, next one. R. Dramatica. Do you think that we're going to see Cal Kestis in any future live action shows or movies? So I had a report on this channel a little while ago. I had heard a report that they were seriously developing and talking about a series for him. Now, the question is, after the success of the second game, because people are loving it, does it get pushed further into development? Now, we haven't got a lot of new shows announcements. Remember, in 2020, we got announcements for all these shows that were coming out. And then we lead into, here we are 3 years later. So, and granted, it was during the pandemic, so maybe they wanted to get some news out there, and they didn't have any movies and everything as well. So now that they have some movies, they don't need to make as many announcements. But if you go through what they have in television right now, you've got Skeleton Crew, or Ahsoka coming out in August, Skeleton Crew coming out end of the year, beginning of next, Acolyte at some point, and then Andor Season 2. That's your 2024, right? 2025 is most likely Mandalorian Season 4, maybe Ahsoka Season 2, maybe. If they want to lead into 2026, you would get close to it. But let's say no on Ahsoka. Let's say no. What's your shows? You're pumping out 2 or 3 right now, and you only have one potentially with Mandalorian Season 4, right? Andor's going to be done. You bring Acolyte back. Is it going to be able to come back in time? And with the writer's strike, you're going to be pushed back even more so now. But announcing some shows and announcing some new things, you would assume it's. I mean, you're not getting any announcements at Star Wars Celebration next year because they ain't having one. Japan, you'll probably get some more announcements, but so you're probably going to start hear about shows, I think, in the next year or so. You would assume. Maybe, maybe not. I'm so curious. Anyway, let's. But Cal Kestis, I would love to get that announcement that that show is the next one after the success. I think it would be smart. Now, if it's an adaptation or a continuation is the question. It'll probably be. This is the problem with the canon stuff, though. When it was first announced, I was so on the other page with Campia back in the day on Jedi Council, because I thought they were going to actually stick to canon and be very protective over it, but they're not when it comes to games and comics and stuff too. They'll change something on a whim if they need to in order to tell the story for live action. So by still saying it's canon, I mean, I do think it's a little dishonest, to be honest with you, but like I do think that if they go away from that, you also don't have to worry about, well, I mean, they don't anyway, but by saying, like the Jedi, let's say if they wanted to, they could just adapt the game. You can just adapt the first game with him. But I guess the thing is that I guess the reason you'd probably want to continue it as opposed to redoing it is because he's significantly older than when the character is in the first in Fallen Order. So I guess that could be the argument against that. But there's rumors that he's going to show up in Mandalorian season 4. Give him his own show and let it look like this. Just sticking people into the show, I guess. I mean, the video game audience, let's not pretend that it's a small portion. It's a massive audience. Video game, this money-wise and everything, is better than movies sometimes. So I would say give him his own show. Plus, the guy's a fantastic actor. He's been in tons of stuff, Shameless and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Tristan Ernie, hey Kristian, do you think sometime in the next month or so we'll get news on the new Jedi Order movie, like casting and shooting dates, maybe announcing John Boyega? No, because I think that right now there's going to be a holdback on announcements and all those things while the writer strike is going on. I think that this could absolutely affect the release of this movie in general, because if Stephen Knight's writing the movie right now, he's not going to be writing it soon because he's going to not be turning anything in anyway. He might be writing it, but maybe just not turning it in. And yeah, so I don't think there's any announcements anytime soon until this writer strike is done. I think it's kind of going to put a whole halt on the industry at the moment. Sam the Sham 4684. Are you going to recast or deep fake legacy characters? Deep fake. Yeah, deep fake at this point, because you've got the tech to do it. If it was de-aging, I'd be kind of opposed to it more so. But with the AI voices coming out to it, if it's like a massive role, I'd still go deep fake, because look at how much time they were able to do with Luke inside that episode and what they. So yeah, I would say deep fake. Last one here. This is the last question of the day from the Great Wicked Art 5. I saw a couple of articles saying that Cal Kestis might appear in Mando Season 4. Now, mind you, they say rumor, but this is true. Would you want to see that? Rather him his own series? Me, I'd rather see his own show. Well, I just covered that. So I would rather see his own show. I think it would make sense to do that. You could also play it more so into that tone of what you did for the game. You can kind of make your Last of Us, if you will, even though you're not adapting it per se, but I'd rather see that. I think that by sticking him in the favorite show, whatever's working, I don't think you need to do that. But this will be the last one. Darth Vader's burnt asshole. I haven't seen him in a while. Do you think if the Acolyte is successful, we will see more of the High Republic era in film and TV? And if not, they'll shy away from it. The books are excellent, and we'd see more. That's such a great question, because the first part of it is kind of like an easy answer, right? The first part of it is, of course, if people love the first season, you're going to see a second one. If they want to do more High Republic stuff because of how much people loved it and are excited about it, and it did really well and the response was amazing, then it's a no-brainer that they would do more. The second part of your question is what I really would want to focus in on, because that's that's not just a Kathleen Kennedy Lucasfilm thing. That's an age-old thing that I saw when I was at Warner Brothers, and in general, like the stats that they look at, even listening to the guy who just directed Ghosted movie, which I can't stand, but the way that they look at, well, you got to look at streaming a particular way. If someone's going to turn it off at this point of the movie, you have to do this. It's like, just make the story. Just make the story. I know it's easier said than done, but it's like, if it's not entertaining, people click it off. Make a good story, right? And the thing is, if people don't respond to the story and you're happy with the story, okay, you say, okay, look, it sucks that we didn't do that, but we want to find another story. We really like that story, so we're going to take a shot with that story. We're going to be creatives here. We're not going to moneyball it. We're not going to go, well, it didn't work out with Han Solo, so that means no Obi-Wan movie now, because people don't want to see legacy characters. No, that's not why people didn't want to see that movie, and that's not why it didn't do well. There's a lot of breakdown as far as why, but they automatically go, oh, panic mode. People don't want to see those types of characters. We got to pull the plug. No one cares about legacy characters. No, not why that happened. And it's the same type of thing that would happen here. It's like, oh, wait, it's not related to anything. The only one that they had was Yoda in there, and the Yoda scenes did really well. So make the next one, the High Republic, if we're going to do Acolyte Season 2, it's got to be led with Yoda. It's got to be led with Yoda. Don't do that. And look, if it fits the story, then it fits the story. But it's just like, it's have faith in your creative. Don't try to moneyball it with cameos and stars and just legacy characters to connect. When it makes sense, it makes sense. And I was a big advocate, and still am, for the way that they use Luke in both The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I thought it made a lot of sense on why. I thought it made no sense that they just took Grogu away from Luke that fast after setting it up. That was a panic move to me. That was a panic move of like, they don't know what to do with Season 3 without Grogu. So they figured out a way to put him back together in Boba Fett. Panic move. And that's the type of stuff that, like, tell your story. Trust in your story. And I hope that they can do that. But we'll see. Longer episode today. So thank you guys for joining me here today. If you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, do me a favor, show a little class. Will you hit that button? Trying to get to 100,000, and we need your help. So do it. And as I mentioned, you're going to be in Connecticut. If you can be in Connecticut on June 24th, come on, man. Double Toasted, Corey and Martin, me and Mark, together again. Come see us. And then we're also June 23rd, New York Comedy Club. And speaking of doing live shows, man, I'm going to be with both Greg Alba and John Campia this Sunday night, 5 p.m. at Flappers Comedy Club. And we're going to be doing a spoiler-heavy discussion in person for Guardians of the Galaxy. I put the link in the description of this video, so please come and check us out over there, too. That's it. Get yourself one of these at TeePublic, man. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you for all the brand new people that have been subscribed to this channel over the last couple of weeks. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying the content. For all the old faithfuls, thank you very much. I'm probably going to do a live stream later on the Kristian Harloff and Friends channel, so if you can join me, do that. I'll probably be in between the 3 and 4 p.m. area, so come check me out over there. All right, guys, you guys are the best, and we'll see you on the flip side. It's Sith Council. Let's do this. You ready? I'm ready. Let's do it.